My mom looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're so awkward that everyone feels uncomfortable. Don't come to the wedding." 3 days later, I was in Paris, hiding in the Louvre, when a video of that same perfect wedding went viral because the groom spit in my mother's face and blew up their whole fantasy in front of 200 guests. And somehow, the invisible daughter they'd uninvited became the one who saved them and took back her entire life. If you've ever been the forgotten one, the awkward one, the one your own family underestimates, this story is for you. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and tap that like button if you love stories where karma doesn't just knock, it kicks the door in. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been treated like the backup character in your own family? Alright, let's get into it. My name is Kayla. I just turned 27 when my mom disinvited me for my sister's wedding. I was sitting cross-legged on my living room floor in Portland, surrounded by travel brochures, when her words replayed in my head like a scratch CD. "You're so awkward that everyone feels uncomfortable. Don't come." They weren't even angry words. That was the worst part. She sounded practical, like she was canceling a subscription, not cutting her own daughter out of a major life event. My little sister Vanessa was the golden child, beautiful, charismatic, the kind of person who glides into a room and everyone just naturally orbits her. She was marrying Wesley, a rich real estate guy from Seattle whose family owned half the waterfront. 200 guests, historic estate, champagne that cost more than my rent. And then there was me, the tall, quiet one with social anxiety who overthinks every sentence and then still says the wrong thing. On the phone, I tried to push back. My throat had closed up halfway through. "Mom, I'm her sister, Kayla," she sighed, that special tone she reserved for me, a mix of embarrassment and fatigue. "We've discussed it as a family. Vanessa's worried about the impression you'll make. You know how you get at social events. The stammering, the awkward silences. Wesley's family is particular. This day needs to be perfect." There was a long, heavy pause. I felt my face go hot, like someone had opened a furnace door inside my chest. Instead of saying what I wanted, "I'm your daughter too," I whispered, "I understand," and hung up before she could hear me cry. At work, my best friend Zoe found me hunched over my keyboard, quietly falling apart between stacks of insurance claims. She listened, rubbing slow circles on my back as I told her what my mother had said. "That is absolutely cruel," she said, eyes blazing. "You're her sister. You should be there." "Maybe they're right," I murmured. "I am awkward. I do make people uncomfortable." Zoe gripped my shoulders, forcing me to look at her. "Stop that. You are thoughtful and kind. Just because you're not loud and glittery like Vanessa doesn't make you less worthy." Her words helped, but they didn't erase a lifetime of being second best. Growing up, my dad buried himself in surgery and golf. My mom obsessed over status and appearances. Vanessa, with her shiny hair and perfect smile, became my mother's favorite accessory. Modeling auditions, pageants, parties. I got hand-me-downs and, "Don't be difficult, Kayla. Vanessa has more opportunities. We're just being practical." The only one who ever made me feel like I wasn't a mistake was my grandma. She'd cup my face and whisper, "Don't let them make you small. You have your own light, Kayla." She died when I was 15. After that, I shrank even more. So when my mom disinvited me from the wedding, it didn't come out of nowhere. It was just the logical conclusion to a lifetime of being told I was an inconvenience. That night, instead of practicing a fake smile for wedding photos I wasn't allowed in, I booked a flight to Paris. The plane would leave the morning of the wedding. While they raised glasses and posed for their perfect family pictures, I'd be an ocean away, eating croissants and pretending to be someone who didn't care. When my mom texted, "Vanessa wants to make sure you're not planning to show up uninvited. Please confirm," I stared at the words for a long time. Then I typed back, "I'll be out of the country. Have a beautiful day." No heart emoji. No follow-up. Just silence. Silence that said everything. The morning of my flight, Portland was all soft fog and pale light. My suitcase wheels clacked along the airport floor, my stomach doing slow somersaults. I wasn't sure if I felt brave or just pathetic. On the plane, as the city shrank to a patchwork of gray and green below me, the guilt kicked in. Somewhere, 8 hours behind me, they were doing last-minute hair and makeup, polishing champagne flutes, lighting candles. My mother would be glowing, Vanessa would be radiant, my dad would finally look proud of somebody. And me? I was 30,000 feet in the air, running away. Paris was stupidly beautiful when I landed, like someone had over-edited the saturation. The taxi driver pointed out landmarks in broken English, and I nodded along, trying to pretend I was lighthearted and spontaneous, and not the daughter who'd been told she'd ruin everything. I checked into my tiny hotel near the Latin Quarter, threw on fresh clothes, and walked through the Jardin du Luxembourg, where kids sailed toy boats in the fountain, into a bakery where the woman behind the counter laughed kindly at my terrible French and slipped an extra macaron into my bag, along the Seine, where couples kissed on bridges while I took photos of the Notre Dame like any other tourist. On the outside, it looked like a cute solo vacation. On the inside, it felt like pressing on a bruise. By late afternoon, I headed into the Louvre. That was the plan. Be deep in a maze of art and strangers at the exact time my sister said, "I do," so I wouldn't be tempted to picture it. I stood in front of the Mona Lisa, crushed in a crowd of tourists holding their phones high, and I never felt more alone. So I did the worst possible thing. I opened Instagram. The very first post at the top of my feed was from my cousin Jennifer. A shaky video, captioned, "OMG, you guys will not believe what just happened at Vanessa's wedding." My stomach dropped. My thumb tapped before my brain could stop it. The video jumped into an elegant ballroom, all ivory tablecloths and crystal chandeliers. The sound was chaos, whispers, gasps, the clink of silverware freezing midair. The camera lurched and focused on the center of the room. My mother stood rigid, face flushed, staring up at Wesley. He looked different, not polished and charming like the one dull dinner I'd met him. His jaw was clenched, his eyes wild. Vanessa stood off to the side, white dress glowing under the lights, both hands over her mouth. I turned my phone volume up, blocking out the murmur of tourists around me. "You think you can dictate to me?" Wesley's voice cut through the speakers, sharp as broken glass. "You're nobody. Your entire family is nobody. How dare you speak to me that way?" Gasps rippled through the video. My mother's voice came next, high and shrill. "How dare you? After everything we've done to welcome you into this family." "Oh, welcome me?" Wesley laughed, ugly and humorless. "You've been kissing up to me since day one because you know Vanessa's lucky. I even looked at her. She's pretty sure. But that's all she's got. And you." He swept his arm, gesturing at my mom. "Parading around like you're somebody important because you married a doctor and raised a daughter who can smile on command." My mom went pale. "You need to apologize right now. This is my daughter's wedding day." "Your daughter," he sneered, "is a shallow, spoiled brat who's been raised to think her looks are enough. And you." "Wesley, please." Vanessa's voice trembled in the background. "Shut up, Vanessa. I'm done pretending." The phone camera jostled as people shifted. My heart was thudding so hard I could feel it in my throat. My mother reached out, maybe to touch his arm, maybe just a gesture. He jerked back, leaned in, and spit in her face. I gasped out loud in the middle of the Louvre. A couple next to me glanced over. I didn't care. On the screen, my mother stood frozen, spit glistening on her cheek. The entire ballroom went dead silent. "You're all pathetic," Wesley said, clear as a bell. "And this wedding is over." He turned and strode out of the frame, leaving my mother humiliated, my father pushing through the crowd, guests whipping out their phones like it was the Hunger Games. The video ended. My hands were shaking so hard, I almost dropped my phone. The comments were already flooding in. Did he just spit on the mom? This is the wildest wedding I've ever seen. Poor bride. That's trauma for life. My phone buzzed in my hand.
Zoe.
Kayla, are you seeing this? She blurted before I could say hello. It's everywhere. Someone I went to high school with just shared it, and she doesn't even know your family. I just watched it, I heard myself say. My voice sounded far away. He spat on my mom, Zoe. In front of everyone. It's already going viral, she said. They're calling it Wedding Spitgate. There are memes. This is huge. And there I was, sitting on a museum bench in Paris, my family imploding on a 6-inch screen. My dad called. Then my mom. Then Vanessa. I watched each call buzz across my screen and slide into voicemail. For the first time in my life, they needed me, and I wasn't picking up. And buried under the shock and horror, there was a tiny, shameful spark of satisfaction. They didn't want me there, because I might ruin the perfect day. Turns out, the ruins came all on their own. By the time I left the museum, the video had millions of views and an actual hashtag. I sat at a tiny cafe, coffee going cold in front of me while I doom-scrolled. That's when I saw it, a gossip site with a headline about Wesley's troubled past. I clicked. There it was in black and white. A restraining order from an ex-girlfriend describing him as charming at first, then controlling, then terrifying. Fights at work. A firing for aggressive behavior. A DUI hushed up by his family's money. My mother had spent 8 months obsessed with flower arrangements and chair covers and hadn't bothered to Google the guy. I took screenshots. Lots of them. My mom called again. This time I answered. Kayla. Her voice was raw, stripped of all that smooth superiority. Where are you? I told you. I'm in Paris. You need to come home. Right now. I stirred my coffee, watching tiny whirlpools swirl in the cup. Why would I do that? Don't be difficult, she snapped, slipping back into her usual tone like it was a comfortable pair of heels. Your sister needs you. This family needs you. That video has been viewed millions of times. Your father's practice is getting calls. Vanessa is hysterical. We're being harassed online. And you're hiding in France like a coward. Something inside me cracked. A coward? I repeated quietly. You told me not to come. You said I was too awkward, too embarrassing, that I'd ruin Vanessa's perfect day. I never said that. Yes, I said, my voice suddenly steady. You did. 3 days ago. You're so awkward that everyone feels uncomfortable. Don't come. There was a long pause. When she spoke again, her voice had gone sugary sweet. Manipulative. Kayla, honey, you misunderstood. I was just worried you'd feel overwhelmed with such a big event. You know how anxious you get. Don't gaslight me, I said. I know what you said. She inhaled sharply. Regardless, the past is the past. We need you now. Vanessa has locked herself in her room. Your father is barely holding it together. Her voice wobbled theatrically. I was assaulted in front of everyone I know. I should have felt bad. I should have comforted her. Instead, all I could think was, you only remember I exist when I can fix something for you. What do you want me to do? I asked. Come home. Help us manage this media nightmare. Show the world we're a united family. A united family, I repeated. The family that uninvited me. Kayla, please. I'm begging you. I had never heard my mother beg for anything. I'll think about it, I said. And I hung up. Then I blocked all of their numbers. For an hour, I sat at that little cafe table, drinking wine at 3 in the afternoon while I watched my family burn online. That's when an unknown number lit up my phone. I almost ignored it. Hello? Kayla? Vanessa's voice came through, small and hoarse. Please don't hang up. Please. I didn't speak. I know you hate me, she rushed on. I know I let Mom treat you like crap. I know I didn't stand up for you about the wedding and I'm so sorry. But I need you. Wesley's been calling and texting nonstop. He says he's coming over tonight to talk things out. He has a key. And I'm scared, Kayla. Her voice broke on that last word. Against my will, my chest clenched. I pictured her in her big princess bedroom, mascara streaked, wedding dress crumpled somewhere on the floor. Then don't see him,
I said.
Stay at Mom and Dad's. You don't understand.
He always gets his way.
And his family, Mom and Dad, are terrified of them. They're already talking about defamation, about how we made him look bad. I thought he was just stressed at the wedding, but those things he said, the way he looked at Mom. Did you know about his ex? I cut in. The restraining order? The job he lost. Silence. What are you talking about? She whispered. I sent her the article. I heard it in real time. The sharp inhale, the little broken sound in her throat as she read. Oh my God, she breathed. Oh my God. Mom and Dad said they did all the background checks. They said he was perfect. They saw $signs and stopped looking, I said. They wanted the fantasy more than the truth. There was a long silence. Then, I don't deserve your help, but I'm asking anyway. I'm your sister, and I'm scared. Please. I closed my eyes. Part of me wanted to say, you're right. You don't deserve it. But another part remembered the little girl who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. I'm not coming back to play happy family, I said. If I come home, things are going to be different. I'm not shrinking for you anymore. I'll do anything, she said. Just, please come. When we hung up, I opened the airline app and changed my ticket. The first flight back to Portland left in the morning. I wasn't running away anymore. This time, I was flying toward something. On the plane, I turned into a one-woman investigation team. I read every article about Wesley, dug into his family's company, found the ex-girlfriend's social media and the post where she celebrated 1 year free from toxicity. Screenshot after screenshot went into a folder on my laptop. Text messages from the wedding group chat, comments from people who'd seen his temper before, news pieces about this Spitgate groom. By the time I landed in Portland to a gray drizzle, I had a digital knife set. My parents' house looked exactly the same. White columns, perfect lawn, the kind of place that screams, we care what people think. My mother opened the door. She looked
wrecked.
Hair unbrushed, no makeup, 5 years older in 2 days. You came, she breathed. Where's Vanessa? I asked. Upstairs. She hasn't left her room. I walked past her without waiting to be invited. Vanessa flung open her bedroom door the second I knocked. Her eyes were swollen, hair knotted, drowning in an old t-shirt and sweatpants. You're really here, she said, and then she threw her arms around me and sobbed. It was awkward at first. I stood stiffly, my hands hovering like I didn't know where to put them. Then she shook harder, and some ancient reflex kicked in. I wrapped my arms around her and held on. We sat on her bed, the same bed I'd been shooed away from 1,000 times as a teenager. She handed me her phone. The texts from Wesley were a roller coaster of rage and fake remorse. You ruined everything. You're nothing without me. I'm coming over tonight, we will talk. You're overreacting, baby. Your mom pushed me. You'll regret ignoring me. My skin crawled. You need to go to the police, I said. At least document this. And we're getting you a lawyer. I already found someone. I thought Mom and Dad would take care of it, she whispered. They're more worried about the press than about me. Of course they were. Before I could answer, shouting erupted downstairs. A man's voice. My father's, tight with restrained anger. We crept to the top of the stairs and peeked over the railing. Wesley stood in the foyer, same guy from the video, but more unhinged. Wrinkled shirt, dark circles under his eyes, a kind of jittery energy that set my teeth on edge. Get out of my house, my dad said, blocking his path. I need to see my wife, Wesley shot back. She's not answering my calls. You spat on my wife at my daughter's wedding, my dad said, voice low. You humiliated us. Wesley scoffed. I was provoked. She insulted my family. You think you're better than us because you're a doctor? Please. My mom shrieked. I never insulted your family. My fingers were already moving. I hit record and angled my phone down through the railing gaps. Vanessa. Wesley suddenly shouted up the stairs. Get down here. We're leaving. Vanessa's grip dug into my arm. She's not going anywhere with you, I said, loud enough to carry. Her head snapped up. My parents looked stunned. Wesley's eyes narrowed. And you are? He sneered. I'm Kayla, I said, stepping into view. The other daughter. The one you all decided was too awkward to invite. My mother flinched. My father grimaced. Wesley actually looked confused, like he genuinely hadn't noticed there was another daughter. Go back upstairs, Kayla, my dad said automatically. No, I said. My voice didn't even shake. I want to hear what Wesley has to say. He rolled his shoulders, trying to regain control. What I have to say is that your mother has been slandering me, and I'm not leaving without my wife. Slandering you? I raised an eyebrow. You spat on her. On camera. From 12 different angles. You weren't there, he snapped. You don't know what she said before people started filming. You're right, I said. I wasn't there because she uninvited me. But I do know about Jessica. His face froze. The ex-girlfriend who had to get a restraining order? The job you lost for threatening a coworker? The DUI your family buried? I held up my phone, scrolling through the screenshots like a greatest hits reel of his worst moments. I know more about you than my family ever bothered to learn. His jaw clenched. You don't know anything. I know you're not here because you love Vanessa, I said. You're here because you hate losing control. Classic abuser move. He lunged like he was going to grab my phone. My dad stepped in front of me, so fast I actually startled. Don't you touch her, he said. Wesley laughed, but there was panic in it now. You think you can take my wife from me? We're legally married. We signed the papers at the courthouse yesterday morning. Insurance, you know? In case something went wrong at the ceremony. Behind me, I heard Vanessa suck in a breath. He told me it was romantic, she whispered. Our little secret. So that was the hook. He'd locked her in before the show even started. Great, I said. That makes this easy. We'll file for an annulment based on fraud and coercion. I've already contacted a lawyer. We have your texts. We have the wedding video. And thanks to this little visit, we now have you on record threatening her family and admitting your little insurance policy. You can't do this, he said. His voice dropped, cold and ugly. My family has lawyers that will destroy you. Your family, I said slowly, is currently watching you trend as the guy who spit on the bride's mom. They care about their reputation. You're a liability. If you drag this out, every skeleton in your closet rattles out into the open, including Jessica's story, including the other women who have already started speaking up. He opened his mouth, then closed it as the weight of that sank in. This isn't over, he said finally, pointing a shaking finger at us. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said. But not as much as you regret letting someone record you being a monster. My dad stepped closer to the door. Get out. Wesley glared at each of us, then slammed the door so hard the chandelier rattled. We stood there in stunned silence until Vanessa walked down the stairs, holding up my phone. I got everything, she said, voice trembling but proud. Every word. The next morning, we sat around the same dining room table where I'd spent my childhood trying to disappear. Not today. Here's what happens next, I said, laptop open, coffee in hand like I'd run these kinds of interventions my whole life. My parents blinked at me. Vanessa has an appointment with Patricia at 2 p.m. I continued. She's a lawyer who specializes in coercive control and domestic abuse. We're filing for an annulment based on fraud. We'll attach the texts, last night's video, and the statements from other women who've already come forward since the wedding video went viral. My dad frowned. And his family? They'll fight this. Maybe, I said. But I doubt it. They don't want any more attention on this than there already is. Which is why I clicked to another tab. I've arranged an interview with a national journalist. Controlled, sympathetic, and on our terms. Vanessa tells her story once. The Spitgate bride becomes the woman who escaped an abuser. The internet loves a redemption arc. I don't know if I can do that, Vanessa said quietly. Yes, you can, I said. Because right now you're a meme. This gives you your voice back. My mother had been silent, hands wrapped around her mug like it was a lifeline. Now she looked up at me with something I'd never seen in her eyes before. Respect. When did you become so? She gestured helplessly at my laptop. Capable?
I always was, I said.
You just never noticed. The words hung there, heavy and sharp. My father cleared his throat. Kayla,
I owe you an apology.
I wasn't there for you. I let your mother decide everything. I didn't protect you from her. Favoritism. That was wrong. My mother flinched. I treated you badly, she said stiffly.
I see that now.
I made Vanessa my project, and you became an afterthought. I can't undo it, but I am sorry. Vanessa's fingers found mine under the table. I'm sorry too, she whispered, for every time I took your place and called it normal. I looked at all three of them. The hurt was still there. It didn't vanish with one group confession. I'm not ready to just say it's okay and move on, I said. But I am willing to try. On one condition. What's that? My mother asked. You stop treating me like I'm lucky just to be tolerated. I'm not the awkward embarrassment anymore. I'm the reason this doesn't destroy you. No one argued. The plan worked almost too well. Vanessa's interview aired 2 days later. She sat on my parents' couch, no glam squad, no dramatic lighting. Just simple makeup, a small cross necklace, and shaking hands. The producers intercut her words with clips from the wedding, screenshots of Wesley's messages, and blurred interviews with other women who dated him. Viewers watched Vanessa's face crumple as she described the courthouse marriage, how he'd sold it as romantic spontaneity, while secretly trapping her. They watched her look straight into the camera and say, voice raw, if someone shows you who they are, believe them, even if it's on your wedding day. The internet flipped. Overnight, Spitgate went from meme to cautionary tale. The comments turned supportive. Women flooded her DMs with their own stories. The next morning, Wesley's family released a statement distancing themselves from him and supporting Vanessa's decision to seek an annulment. Translation: You're on your own, kid. Patricia called to say Wesley's lawyers wanted it over quickly and quietly. No fight. No money.
No contest.
Wesley himself vanished into some overpriced wellness retreat in Arizona. His social media disappeared like he'd never existed. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't satisfying. But my revenge wasn't complete yet. A local news station reached out asking for follow-up. The Forgotten Sisters sighed. I agreed, on my terms. I sat under bright studio lights and told the world what it felt like to grow up in the shadow of the golden child. How it felt to be uninvited from a wedding because your own mother thought you'd embarrass her. I even read the exact text she'd sent me. You're so awkward that everyone feels uncomfortable. Don't come. The host leaned forward. And yet, when everything went wrong, you came back.
Why?
I looked into the camera, imagining every quiet, overlooked kid watching. Because revenge doesn't always mean burning everything down, I said. Sometimes the best revenge is refusing to be who they decided you were. I didn't come back as the awkward, apologetic daughter. I came back as the woman who saved the day and finally took up space. 3 months later, I stood at the front of a small conference room in downtown Portland, watching women filter in and take their seats.
This was my support group now.
For daughters who'd been overlooked. For siblings who'd been cast as background characters. For anyone told they were too much or not enough to belong. Thank you all for coming, I said. Let's talk about the little ways families make us feel small and how we stop letting them. My career had changed too. I'd gotten a promotion at the insurance company. Turns out crisis management skills come in handy. I was speaking at events, telling my story, turning pain into something useful. Vanessa was back in school and working part-time at a bookstore. No more rich husband fantasy. She was figuring out who she was without a man or our mother's approval. My mom was in therapy, actually doing the work. My dad took me out to coffee once a week and asked about my life like he really wanted to know. We were messy. We were learning. But for the first time, we were honest. And me? The girl who was too awkward for her own sister's wedding became the woman strangers wrote to saying, "You helped me leave a toxic relationship." I didn't key anyone's car. I didn't blow up anyone's job. My revenge was quieter, colder, and much more lasting. I built a life where I was impossible to ignore. If you've ever been the invisible one, the backup plan, the weirdo in the family, hear me. You are not the problem. You don't have to wait for them to validate you. Sometimes the most satisfying revenge is simply becoming everything they said you couldn't be and letting them watch. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, subscribe for more Reddit revenge tales, and tell me in the comments. What's the most satisfying moment of vindication you've ever had or wish you could have? I might just turn your story into the next episode.